live. It is Orange and Blue today, and it is Cecil, Lammey, and Andrew Mason. So that means it's time for countdown and rock music, Mace. This part of the show, the entire show, makes me so happy, Mace.
You love the canned rock music. Like I say, there are people that put their heart and soul into this. That little reverb there, right?
Right.
I mean, there is there musicianship in this?
I think there has to be, right? Somebody wrote this music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Somebody put a lot of themselves into this little canned rock music tune with which we open our show on a 5 days a week basis, right? So,
Right.
you know, get you going, get you feeling good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good now that I'm talking to you, brother. We're talking about the Denver Broncos, and we come together, we share some moments, and today's show, our moment, has a lot to share. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason, and Jaleel McLaughlin. Yes, Week 18, Mace. We'll talk plenty about Week 18. Tomorrow's the game plan show. But Jaleel McLaughlin in 2024, what could that look like?
Could look a lot like the last couple of weeks, I think, where you have a guy who, let's put the graphic up real quick, because the compare and contrast is fascinating for Jaleel McLaughlin. Last couple of games, 64.5 yards from scrimmage per game. Week 6 to 15, 25.4 yards from scrimmage per game. So basically, you see them using him more. They're using him as a decoy. It's no longer the 70% of the time he's out there. He's getting the ball. And really, the final step for him becoming more of an all-around back is going to be what he does in pass protection. But I think we're seeing a hint of what 2024 could look like for Jaleel McLaughlin, and it may well look like Jaleel pushing 1,000 yards from scrimmage in his second year.
Right, and I don't want to be greedy, Mace, but why couldn't we have seen this sooner? You and I talked about him plenty from May. June, we're in OTAs, we're in minicamp. You and I are in training camp. We're leading the charge for Jaleel McLaughlin. We may be biased. I may be biased. But, this could have happened sooner, right?
It could have. And in fact, honestly, coming out of the Chicago game, when Javonte Williams was injured and Jaleel did wonderfully, I think we all thought it was about to come. I mean, there was a moment it looked like Jaleel McLaughlin could become this team's primary back this year. It didn't come to pass. And the biggest reason it didn't come to pass, I'm saying pass a lot, is pass protection, right? And if you have a back out there who struggles in that aspect, you're going to see teams attack, and that's going to leave the quarterback exposed. And that just caused too many problems for the Broncos in terms of their game planning, which is why you didn't see much of him for a pretty long stretch of the season.
Yeah, and now we're kind of glimpsing into keyholes, but I want to remind people years ago of some young man from North Carolina named Fast Willie Parker. And I think it was it even the Oilers? Might have been early Titans, Oilers, whatever, but there was a Week 17 game for the Steelers. We had 150 yards. He never done anything before that. And then the next year, he had a 1,000-yard back. And then the next year was a 1,000-yard back. So I'm not saying 1,000 for Jaleel, but when everyone says meaningless game, Mace, not for these guys, not for guys that have plenty to prove. And we can actually see glimpses of the future sometimes based on the final game.
Yeah, it was against the Titans. And for Willie Parker, it was kind of a revelation. I remember him at North Carolina, and his nickname was the Clinton Bypass because he was from a town of Clinton, North Carolina, and he had a habit of not going to the hole and trying to go outside when the hole was there between the tackles. So they called him the Clinton Bypass. Okay. His success was wonderful to see as a pro, and I will admit, watching him in college, I did not see coming. But that just shows you how a player with attributes and desire and diligence can grow. I mean, I'll tell you about Jaleel McLaughlin. Yes, he can set the tone for next year, but this is the guy who is getting in the building at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is how he's able to meet with Sean Payton and talk with him one-on-one, because he's there before a lot of coaches are there. And I'll tell you another story. We were walking back to the media room from the locker room availability and press conferences today, and when you walk back, sometimes we walk through the field house. There's one dude working out in the darkened Pat Bowlen Fieldhouse after practice, and that is Jaleel McLaughlin. The dude gets it.
Yeah.
He is, he's a product of what he grew up with. Remember, he experienced homelessness for a time as growing up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and you can see like the experiences he has drive him to this day. That that he doesn't ever want to go through anything like that again. He's going to make the most of what he's got here, this opportunity that he's got, and that means, he's not just got the skills, but he's going to work harder than anybody else.
Right, and we'll have the video for you certainly in the next couple of weeks. We'll be talking more about Jaleel McLaughlin, but when I asked him today, Mace, like, hey, a closed mouth don't get fed, this guy had the cojones to go to Sean Payton. Sean Payton's kind of an intimidating guy, but you had an undrafted rookie who hadn't done a lot until these last couple of weeks that actually went to his coach and asked for more. Mace, I've said it forever, in life and in football, you might be surprised sometimes if all you have to do is ask. What you'll get if you merely put yourself in position to ask the question.
Do you remember how C.J. Anderson would ask Peyton Manning anything and everything about the offense and the scheme and the game plan?
Yeah, CJ told me he wanted to be annoying to Peyton. And then Peyton has said multiple times, CJ's the second smartest back behind Marshall Faulk. He's like another coach on the field.
Yep, he absolutely is. And he's naturally smart, don't get me wrong, but he was smart enough to know, okay, I've got to learn this. I've got to go to the resources that can help me grasp this. In CJ's case, it was Peyton Manning. In Jaleel's case, it's Sean Payton right there at the top. Hey, what can I do? One of the things Sean Payton told him was about, okay, you've got to be better catching passes out of the backfield. And that's been an area the last couple of games where he's been more effective when the Broncos have used him. Joe Lombardi, offensive coordinator, pointed also to pass protection. So basically, you're talking about two aspects of the passing game, one in protection, one as a receiving target. We've seen him make progress as a receiving target. Sounds like a great deal of emphasis this offseason is going to be on him improving as a blocker.
Right, and we can also tell because of who we talk to and coaches. Because coaches, even sometimes with body language, Mace, you've been around this game long enough to know, sometimes you'll ask about a player and they'll be, they don't like him.
Right.
I remember asking Tom Coughlin his very first question at the Combine years ago. I was like, what about Darrell Scott? Because I'm a nerd. And he was just like, he almost threw up when I mentioned the name Darrell Scott. Shout out Maryland, who's a Terrapin, right? Anyway, but like when we talk to coaches, they love him. They love this kid.
They love the way he works. They love what kind of person he is. And they love his skills because, he's got unique speed, unique burst. I mean, you don't have to be a football expert to appreciate what dimension Jaleel McLaughlin brings when he steps out there. There's just much more burst, speed, explosiveness than you see from the other running backs. All due respect to Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine. But when McLaughlin's out there, the whole process just looks faster.
Yes. Yep. And you and I both talked to Joe Lombardi today. You want to set up this clip with Joe? Because I believe you got in a few questions about Jaleel. So let's go to that video. I want you to set up first, though, Mace.
Yeah, obviously, it's okay. What can he?
I mean, really a guy from day one that just has one of those work ethics that, is over and above what you're used to seeing. And a lot of times rookies, they run out of gas. It's a longer season than they're used to, and he has not. He's just kept up that work ethic and that enthusiasm, and they're the kind of habits that are going to serve him well.
It's a live show, and I have fat fingers, so when I moved my cursor over Joe Lombardi, the video started playing. So I apologize.
No, that's okay. Well, I'll just reset on that. That was, just talking about him in general, the arc of Jaleel McLaughlin's season. Very interesting that you talk about a player who did not hit the rookie wall, right? That you get some of that slowdown. Now, let's throw that. Can you throw that slide up again on McLaughlin there?
Yeah, we can go through the numbers over the last couple of weeks have been phenomenal.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks are phenomenal, but you see that he hit a bit of a valley there for 10 weeks of the season with 25.4 yards per game. That was when, as you and I often talked about, most of those games, 70% or more of the time that he was on the field, he was getting the ball, but his snaps were 6 snaps, 8 snaps, 9 snaps, right? He wasn't playing all that much. You've seen the snap count double in the last couple of games. You've seen him become more than twice as effective. Why? Because now you're using him as a little bit of a decoy. It's no longer a tell. We talked about all the time that for a while it was a tell when Jaleel was out there. That hasn't been the case the last couple of games. Things have opened up for him. So this is the thing. The conundrum of Jaleel McLaughlin is you've got to give him more snaps and not get him the ball on those snaps, which is why he has to become more effective in pass protection so he can have a broader range of uses out there, and that can catch the opposing defense off guard. So that's why, the subject of pass protection came up, and here's what Joe Lombardi had to say about Jaleel McLaughlin and the progress he hopes he'll make there.
Really a guy from day one that just has one of those work ethics that, is over and above what you're used to seeing. And a lot of times rookies, they run out of gas. It's a longer season than they're used to, and he has not. He's just kept up that work ethic and that enthusiasm, and they're kind of habits that are going to serve him well.
I think enthusiasm is a key.
That was the same
there.
clip.
Yeah, that was the same clip. We're fine. It's a live show, everybody. But I think
are they both the same clip? Did we have a little bit of it?
Honestly, today I only got one Joe clip. So.
Oh, yeah. I sent 2. That's
I got
why.
Joe and I got Ben. I got Coach Kotwicka.
Oh, okay. Well then, technical difficulties because I did send you 2.
It's all good. We're doing it. We're putting it out there for the people.
Oh,
man. They're sitting outside today. They didn't let you in the field house today for this portion of the show.
And I made a tactical error by not having gloves in my car. My hands are cold. I've got one hand in my pocket, and the other hand is holding a microphone.
Giving a peace sign.
Yes.
To Andrew Mason. All you got to do is ask me. I think I have a pair of gloves in my Jeep. I have a pair of gloves in my jacket. I'm the gloves guy. I am the ultimate, I got to have gloves at my disposal at all times.
I lose gloves constantly. And the thing is, usually I go down to Costco and just buy the perfectly solid pair of gloves for $10, right? So that means if I lose them, I got to go back to Costco probably tonight and get some new gloves. I got to get some gas anyway, so it's Costco's getting a free free spot here. Maybe I'll show up wearing I think Alex Singleton on Sunday post game was wearing a Kirkland signature T-shirt.
Okay, all right, there you go. We can do that.
If you know, you know, right?
Where's our great value T-shirts? Walton Penner Group should be handing those out because it's their company.
We're talking about Costco here at Broncos headquarters. Am I going to get struck down by a bolt of lightning or something going on around here?
Truck.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I think I'm rolling the dice here on this. Anyway,
I will get a bolt of lightning because I asked you a question earlier today, and the response I got, I wish I could do it organically and get that same response, but I'm going to ask you the question again, Mace, because we discuss what we're going to talk about on this show. We discuss our thumbnail and description, all those sorts of things. It's a strategy, but it's also what are people talking about? There are a lot of people in Broncos country that feel Pro Bowlers came out for the Denver Broncos, and I'll throw up that graphic in a little bit. But Courtland Sutton was not a Pro Bowl player, so a lot of Broncos fans are saying Courtland Sutton got snubbed. What say you?
Absolutely, he did not get snubbed. Yes, second in the AFC in touchdown catches. That matters. But you go through other metrics like receptions, yards per catch, first down rate, receiving yardage. He's somewhere in the teens and 20s in all of them, right? Among wide receivers. That's not even including running backs and tight ends in the equation. So among wide receivers, he's pretty well down the list. Some spectacular catches, that's true, but simply put, the overall numbers, which is what is going to help determine Pro Bowl receivers, Courtland Sutton didn't match up. I mean, to me, it never occurred to me for a second that he'd be a Pro Bowler after the last few weeks. And that's another thing. Like, he had 10 touchdowns, but we haven't seen a lot from him in the last few games, right? Even before he had the concussion against New England, he'd been fairly silent through much of December to that point. So it's... I mean, in Green Bay, they're saying, "Oh, Romeo Doubs should have been a Pro Bowler." No, he shouldn't have. No. Okay.
No, and I love Romeo, and I'd say no.
Okay. The Broncos only had one Pro Bowl snub, and it wasn't Courtland Sutton. It was Quinn Miners at right guard. But here is something about Pro Bowl recognition at certain positions like guard, tackle, center, safety. Usually the recognition at positions where numbers, quantifiable numbers beyond like Pro Football Focus metrics aren't there. Usually the recognition, it's more reputation based and it lags by a year. Yes. I would not at all be surprised if we're sitting here talking about Quinn Miners being a Pro Bowler a year from now, which is another reason why I think the Broncos, as they get into next year, need to do the old Ted Thompson thing that he did in Green Bay for a long time and get out in front on some contract extensions like that of Quinn Miners, because if he is a Pro Bowler at this time next year, that contract value is only going to go up. He's not going to get any cheaper. Quinn Miners is playing at a Pro Bowl level, but at guard, usually there's a 1-year lag. Unless you're a first-round pick like Quentin Nelson, usually you've got a 1-year lag before it gets recognized by everyone else.
Mace, if you do the Johnny Manziel money with your fingers, it might warm up your hands. But either way, I'll throw up the graphic. Here's the Pro Bowlers for the Broncos for every year. And you can see, obviously, it's not going to be like it was in 2014. But
wow,
see,
11.
Yeah,
good
11.
Times.
That's amazing. We were there. I seen it. But like 2, 2, 0, 1, and now 3. I imagine that next year, these numbers will continue to grow for the Broncos.
You imagine they will. And you did have the Katwika clip, right?
Yes, I do. Yep.
All right, because I would argue that the two most improved units on the team this year are the offensive line and special teams. And getting Marvin Mims Jr. to the Pro Bowl as a returner, first of all, it's richly deserved, right? Yeah. It certainly helped Marvin Mims, not only the quantifiable numbers in terms of average per return, but it helped him that he was AFC Special Teams Player of the Week for the game in Buffalo. The Broncos played on Monday night, so most of the league watched that and saw that. The other thing that helps Marvin Mims Jr. is everyone's game plans that they're working on when they go into special teams meetings on a week-to-week basis and they're facing the Broncos. Job number one is, how do you keep the ball away from Marvin Mims Jr.? That's why he's sitting there as a Pro Bowler, not just because of the numbers, but because he forces game plans to change. But it's not just him. It's a team effort. The Broncos special teams have become a top 10, probably even a top 5 unit across the board this year. Mims has a lot to do with that, but so does the blocking in front of him. So do on field goal rush. We had Zach Allen getting his hand on the football on Sunday to block a Chargers field goal. A lot of good things going on there on that unit. So having Mims get recognized, it's a collective celebration. It's something that I think special teams deserves, and Ben Katwika spoke about that today.
Yeah, it's excellent. I think it's a tip of the cap to everybody. If you look at most of the metrics, we're one of the top 5 units in the league, and that's a credit to everybody across the board. Obviously, Marvin getting the Pro Bowl recognition is a huge part of it, but just a really good group, and have really enjoyed working with them this year and seeing their progress throughout the year. And like I said, looking forward to that carrying forward on Sunday.
Look at where they've come from just a year ago, Mace.
Oh, it was the worst unit in football for the first 16 weeks. The only reason it didn't finish 32nd was because they fired Dwayne Stukes. Jerry Rosberg took over the unit, and lo and behold, you had 2 really good special teams games to close the season. I mean, it might have been a top 5 unit last year if Jerry Rosberg had been coaching the special teams all season. That's not the way it worked, but it gave you a hint that it was possible here. We've seen it, but it wasn't just last year. Special teams has been a bugaboo going back to 2016.
Long time.
Yes, it's been a problem. The last year the Broncos were plus in special teams was the year they won Super Bowl 50. Not a coincidence, okay? And when you look at reasons why the Broncos will have a 3 or 4 game improvement in the win column this year, I think you look at a couple of things. One, giveaway takeaway, particularly when they had that spate of takeaways there during the 5-game winning streak, and special teams, which is how you can gain some advantages at the margins in a football game.
Mace, you and I have talked a lot of football. I've never talked to you about this, but I believe it to be true. So please tell me if you agree or disagree. I think that when you look at the health of a football team, the canary in the coal mine is special teams. You can tell the health and construct, maybe even the culture, Mace, of a team based on what their special teams looks like.
Right. I think that's absolutely been the case over the last several years as well. And yes, the biggest reason why the Broncos have struggled is they have not had plus performances at the quarterback position for most of the last 6 seasons. I mean, Russell Wilson is almost certainly done here in Denver, but you can also say Russell Wilson working with Sean Payton, that's the best quarterback performance the Broncos have gotten over that time, right? But special teams, it indicates a lot about your depth. It indicates a lot about your injuries as well, because if you have injuries atop the depth chart and you have backups becoming starters, they get removed from special teams. Next thing, you're scrambling to find players. So it is the extreme test of your depth as well. It's also a test of your attention to detail. And a test of football character, because for most of these players, special teams is not a big part of what they do until they get to the NFL, because usually they've been stars.
You're the man. Yeah.
Right. You've been special, which means you're not covering kickoffs. You're not covering punts. They used to call, do they still call it Suicide Squad? I remember they called it that when I was a kid.
I believe so, yeah. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. It's not something you've done. And so it's a test of like how you embrace your world changing a bit, that you're no longer special. You're one of many, right? The Broncos, the Broncos have players who've bought in. That buy-in starts from the coaching staff. I think the big question going into the offseason is Mike Westhoff, who of course is the assistant head coach, and he's working with Ben Kutwika. Is Mike Westhoff back for another year, or was this a 1-year thing? Because Mike Westhoff, he's on the Mount Rushmore of special teams coaches of the last 25 years, inarguably. But does he come back for a full season or not? That's one of the questions. There are some questions going into the offseason. That's one of them.
I'd like to sit down with him and you at dinner and just talk ball. Imagine that, dude. Imagine that as like a long-form podcast. Just sit there with a microphone and start talking to Westhoff about ball.
Maybe my favorite interview this year was back in June interviewing Mike Westhoff. Just talking about kickoff rule changes, the evolution of special teams, the players that he liked. And he said it out then that he expected this unit to be pushing to be the league's best. It's probably not going to be number 1 in the rankings. We'll see Rick Gosselin's annual special teams rankings coming up here in about 3 weeks. Probably won't be number 1, but I don't expect you're going to have to look very far down to see the Broncos. I think you'll see their best finish in those rankings since 2015.
Right, and Jedi Techniques brings it up in the chat room. We do have to talk about how they did this without Brandon McManus. A painful move, but a move. Did I hear Dalala correct? Shout out Eric Dalala, by the way. But he said something about Will Lutz when we were talking to Coach Katwika.
Yeah.
That Lutz is what, a couple field goals away? What's the? Do you know the number?
I'd have to go look it up.
But they did this without McManus, and so many fans. And yeah, I was a little grumpy about it. I usually don't like talking about kickers or whatever, but it's like you had to make the move. It was painful, but if you trusted the coaching staff, look at what they've done now. Yeah,
and you trusted your gut, and also you were patient with the process, right? You cut McManus and said, okay, well, we're going to bring in Elliott Fry. We're going to then bring in Brett Maher in the preseason. We're going to take a look at some different guys here. Fry had been really successful in the Alliance American Football back in 2019, the old AAF, Orlando Apollos, shout out. And Brett Maher had a great season last year until that playoff meltdown in Tampa last January. So basically, you kind of had to trust the process a bit. Trust that there were going to be kickers available at the end of the preseason. There always are, right? I mean, Brandon McManus was an end of the preseason move by the Broncos. That worked out pretty well over time. So they trusted the process. They were patient. Payton was patient. I think there was a lot of public freak out. There wasn't a freak out in that building, and they end up getting Will Lutz. And now I think Will Lutz is one of those guys, even though you're facing a cap crunch here, Will Lutz is a pretty high priority for you to re-sign. You trust Will Lutz.
Yep.
Which is, and also he can handle Sean Payton. I think that's something that matters as well. Players that can go with the ups and downs of a coach like Sean Payton, who is brilliant in a lot of ways, but can be a little bit tough to handle. Someone like Adam Troutman knows how to handle that. Someone like Will Lutz knows how to handle that. Someone like Jaleel McLaughlin knows how to handle that, right? It's, and part of it is Sean Payton's putting together his kind of team, which is why this offseason is going to be so fascinating, because this year was about finding out who's in and who's out. We're going to get clarity on that in the next 2 months.
We are going to get clarity, but right now, Andrew Mason, you're going to get warm because Tom on our chat room says Mace's hands are blue. I hope your hands aren't blue. I hope they're okay. Are they okay?
They're all right. Yeah, let's see. But I've been rotating which hand is in my pocket. Someone says Mace looks like he eats crumpets.
Roport said that. Yeah.
Roport. I drink tea. I'm not a crumpets person. I'm not a scones person. I like muffins. I'm a tea and muffins guy. What does that make me? A tea and muffin top person. Top of the muffin to you. If you know, you know.
He is
with an exclamation point.
Always with an exclamation point. That's right. Oh wait, this one's pretty. Was Paul Mace looks like he was in Christmas Story?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm not wearing the big outfit like Randy, you know.
I can't
put my arms down. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't the Scott Farkas' little friend wear a hat like this?
Yeah, he does.
Or no, he's like a leather. Yeah, he's mittens. I'm telling my dad after Ralphie kicks his butt. Hey, I'm telling my dad.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, anyway, yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a little cold. I'm gonna go warm up and go write a little something here from the day. But it's good. It's good. I think I'll be inside and warm tomorrow, though. I believe I'll be back in my home studio before I head out to the desert Southwest. By the way, it's gonna be kind of cool out there. I was saying this last night. It's gonna be 48 degrees on Sunday in Vegas. If I want 48 degrees, I'll stay here. Come on.
It is high desert, so.
Yeah,
there you go.
I know it happens sometimes. I just wish it wasn't happening when I was there.
He's Andrew Mason, everybody. You know him, you love him, and we love him with this show. It's Orange and Blue today. We appreciate you all. We're growing the YouTube channel, so what does that mean?
Like comment, share,
subscribe. Hit the notification bell.
Hit the notification bell so you never miss a vid. Yeah,
that's right.
There you go.
Never, ever miss a vid from Denver Sports. We appreciate you. The response has been amazing. Please keep it up. We need your help to continue to grow the channel. We want to kick ass on the wild side for you, and OBT is a BFD. He is Andrew Mason. I am Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching, everyone. Warm up, Mace. Stay tuned.
I'm Frosty.
He's Frosty. Oh, boy.